Hello everyone and welcome to our virtual CDTM. Today we're very excited to have you here with us for our most recent trend seminar final presentation. Today we want to share with you our findings about the future of the elderly. To be more precise, we want to talk about the independent living for the elderly. My name is Philip.
And I'm Anna-Sophie, and both Philip and I, together with the Class of Fall 2020, we're delighted to welcome you today to follow our presentation, which is the result of 7-week intensive research on trends, scenarios, drivers and business models in the field of AgeTech. And this is a topic which is really of relevance to all of us. Well, we all have relatives who are elderly, and on the other hand, we are also aging ourselves, and there's a need to prepare for our own elderly life. Just a quick intro for everyone who's not yet familiar with the CDTM. The CDTM stands for Center of Digital Technology and Management. And our vision is to connect, to educate and to empower the innovators of tomorrow.
Now, what does this look like in practice? Connecting, educating and empowering the innovators of tomorrow. Every semester, 25 students from various disciplines and nationalities, both from LMU and TU Munich, join our add-on study program in technology management. These 25 students learn what it takes to be an innovator. In 3 courses, first, trend seminar, learning what it takes to identify trends, managing product development, how you actually build products, and last but not least, our entrepreneurship laboratory course, where they learn how to conduct strategic decisions. Across these 3 courses, they do not only learn everything in theory, but they actually apply it to real-world innovation projects that we conduct together with industry, startups, NGOs, public administrations, organizations, and so on and so forth. The result are empowered students to take over responsibility in the field of innovation, either as a founder, in academia, in politics, in society, or in industry. We want to, first of all, welcome you and introduce you to our project partner, Ellie. CDTM is meant to be a platform to connect both students and industry to shape innovation together. This semester, the Trend Seminar has been supported by Ellie, a team of specialists from the field of medicine and the healthcare sector. Ellie has been supporting us thoroughly through these past 7 weeks, and we look forward to your future innovations in the field of healthy aging as well.
The past 7 weeks have been the most interesting journey through several decades of our history and our upcoming future. Our 25 students worked on this on a full-time basis. So let's take a look at what we have been actually doing during those past 7 weeks. The Trend Seminar provides the opportunity for the students to deal with uncertainty in a structured way. And this is becoming even important in our today's world of increasing volatility and complexity. The Trend Seminar consists of 3 different phases. First, the basic phase. Second, the scenario phase. And third, the ideation phase. And each different phase has another objective and outcome. So the first phase, the basic phase, this is the most research-intensive phase in which we identify different trends and drivers that are impacting the life of the elderly today and in the future up to in 5 years' time. The second phase, the scenario phase, is interesting because here the future horizon is much longer, 20 years in time, and here we extrapolate the different trends and drivers that we have identified, and we come up with 4 different plausible and realistic scenarios in 2040. And stay tuned because we have different time travelers with us today from the year 2040. And in our third phase, the ideation phase, we focus on the modeling of business ideas, which are future-proof because they are based on our underlying understanding of the different drivers and scenarios in the future. and you will get to know the most promising ideas today. And how does this look like in reality, in the new reality, the virtual reality, in times of Corona? Well, we spend many hours in front of our laptops focusing on online expert lectures, on conference calls, and on virtual whiteboards. And I really must say that we think that this has also brought new opportunities. But the most important thing is, here we want really to thank our students for their ongoing motivation and commitment, even in the most remote setting during the 7-week full-time course.
Coming to our event here in today. First, we will start talking about the future of the elderly. In the beginning, we will share with you our findings of trends and drivers shaping our industry and target group in the next 5 years to come. Then we will move on to the year 2040, from which we do have 4 time travelers telling their future what aging and the elderly daily life might look like then. Then we would like to move on to our ideation phase. We have 5 teams who want to introduce you to their products and their prototypes that do respond to different challenges the elderly are facing nowadays. You will have the opportunity to ask your questions that will be answered by the teams in the subsequent Q&A. After the event, you have the opportunity to engage with them in the remote networking sessions. Feel free to reach out to them, get to know their product, discuss with them what they have come up with, and post the event. Having said that, we're very excited for you to join us for this final 20-minute presentation. And now we would like to hand over to our students Antonia and Kay, who will guide you through this afternoon.
All right, so now after this intro into the CDTM and the Trends Seminar, now Kay and myself, Antonia, would like to give you an overview of the actual content of our work over the last 7 weeks. So let's get started with the basic phase. When we first learned about our topic, the independent living for the elderly, it was completely new for us and many questions came to mind. What are the challenges that the elderly are facing? Who even are the elderly? What industries should we take a look at? And very importantly, which trends shape this topic? And in order not to get overwhelmed, but actually sort these questions and gain a structured approach, we started into our trend analysis.
As Antonia mentioned, we were really new to this topic. That's why we use different and multiple methods in order to do our research. The first one, we had the great opportunity to talk to industry speakers and experts who were willing and kind enough to not only share their knowledge with us, but also they answered all of our questions. And let's be honest, in the beginning we had many. The second method we used was online research. We are lucky to live at times that allow us to gather a lot of information in a really short amount of time through internet. The third step we gathered as a class, of course in a virtual setting, and we, in a virtual board, combine our ideas and thoughts. And coming from different study backgrounds, we came with really unique thoughts and ideas we could use for later steps. It was important afterwards to gather all the information and data and to analyze it in order to find the relevant information. Let's keep in mind that in the meantime, we did some interviews with experts ranging from doctors to startup founders, but also with the user group, the elderly. I must say that it was really fun and a joy to interview our grandparents and parents and ask them questions we had never asked before. We did identify trends for each of the following categories because we wanted to take the whole understanding of the topic. So we looked at society and environment, political and legal, at technology, economy and business models. And in total, we identified 30 trends, their drivers and also their impact in the topic. However, due to time limitations, we are going to present today the most important trends for each of these categories. And later on, you can read our full report once it's going to be published. Now, let's have a look at society and environment category.
Great. So the societal and environmental viewpoint gives us an interesting perspective. Here, we're looking at a rather sad trend, unfortunately, because we identified that more and more elderly are suffering from loneliness and isolation. This is largely driven by societal changes. So many families today don't live in the same place anymore, maybe not even the same area, country, or continent. But besides loosening family ties, we also see some changes in marital structures. Declining marriage rates and increasing divorce rates are contributing to more and more elderly spending the last years on their own. This is also further driven by a decrease of importance of religion in our communities. Especially in rural areas, many parishes are closing and priests are becoming a rarity, leaving more and more elderly feeling less connected. As you can imagine, this has a rather negative impact. We all know that social contacts, the sense of belonging, and simply conversations are very important for our overall well-being and cognitive abilities. Therefore, this trend really got us thinking. How can we connect with the older generation, make them feel included and involved in our communities and heard?
The next category is political and legal. Here we identified a trend, an increased focus in preventive measures, in regulations and laws. We see that nowadays, especially in Germany, there has been an increase of non-communicable diseases. Let's name here diabetes, lung cancer, and this comes because, of course, the aging of the population, however, also because the obesity numbers are growing up, same is going the consumption of alcohol and smoking. Another driver is Germany expenditure in healthcare is going to increase and actually reach 12% of the GDP in the year 2030. Also, there exists inequality in the social determinants of health among the elderly. What does this mean? Some elderly are better off, they have better education and they have a better work, so a higher income, while the others don't. That's why we believe that while taking preventive measures, we are going to reduce the number of non-communicable diseases, thus the elderly can enjoy and live a healthy life. And also, we see that the inequality existing nowadays is going to be decreased through these measures.
Now, let's take a look at what's happening in technology that might be of help here. We'd like to introduce you to ambient assisted living, in short AAL, which is basically smart homes for the elderly. Some great advancements in technology are really helping to increase functionalities and make this more and more interesting for seniors. Especially developments with the Internet of Things, so smart sensors and wearable gadgets, are helping to meet the seniors' needs. In addition, the willingness to share and support this type of products is enforced by the EU through programs such as the Active Assisted Living Program, which has connected small and medium-sized enterprises together with research bodies and end-user organizations. And lastly, also the rising isolation, which we already mentioned before. While it is a sad trend on the other hand, it is also a great driver of innovation in this field because it is increasing the demand for products that are helping elderly to live their life on their own. So these technologies are mostly considered as a positive impact. They're helping to enable elderly to support aging in place and thereby also compensating for the shortage that we see in care personnel. And lastly, they're also helping to increase this feeling of safety for elderly and their relatives. For example, through gadgets like emergency bracelets, which help the elderly to call for help whenever they need it and really make them feel empowered to take care of their life in a self-determined manner.
Let's have a look at the economy category. Here we identify the trend of emergence of silver economy, which means nowadays more products and services are focused to the elderly and fulfilling their needs. We all are aware of the fact that the population in Europe is growing older and older, and this is going to continue like this. This is because of demographic changes, such as increased life expectancy, about 3 months every year, and also decrease in the birth rates every year. We also saw a trend that the income of the elderly is allowing them to not only cover their basic needs, such as food, housing and transportation, but also enjoying some leisure activities and being part of society. That's why we believe that this trend is going to have a positive impact to the elderly, but also us as society. because we are not going to look at the elderly anymore as a burden in society, but more as a potential for economic growth. We can see the AgeTech industry, which is now growing and more investments are going in this direction.
And last but not least, we'd like to look at business model innovation, especially such that has already or could have an impact on how products and services are designed for seniors. So here we'd like to take a look at a trend that would be best described as data as a service. We recognize that many companies today are not monetizing off of products and services in the traditional sense, but rather of knowledge that is created through real-time data analysis. So let's take a look what that means for the elderly. On the one hand, we see an increasing technology adoption, which is really fostering digital applications that are serving the needs of the elderly. Secondly, we also see an increase in willingness to share data. Elderly are still the age group that is most hesitant in sharing their data, but they also recognize that as long as it really creates true value for them, they're willing to share it. And lastly, we also see that data is actually collected a lot more. So we already mentioned smart homes and smart devices, and they're providing a great foundation for this trend. Now, this trend can be leveraged in order to help elderly mitigate unnecessary risks. For example, in advanced fall detection services. And secondly, we also think that it enables preventive software. Basically, this business model really enables companies that are relying on smart data analysis. And last but not least, we also think that here it can create a more safe environment for everyone who's involved. For example, real-time analysis of situations at home or submitting information about medical conditions is made possible here. So overall, we've seen a quick introduction into 5 of the trends that we identified, and we're encouraging you to read up on them in the final trend report once it's published. I'm sure it will be all over your email inboxes and LinkedIn newsfeeds.
Looking at the next trends for the 5 years to come, it was important. However, we realize it's also important to see how the life is going to look like for the elderly in the year 2040, exactly 20 years from now. That's why this phase of our trend seminar is called scenario phase.
This step was really all about extracting information from all the knowledge that we gathered during the first phase, which is why we started off by looking at the 30 trends that we identified. So trends are rather something that is working on the surface, but we were actually interested in what are the underlying driving forces that are actually making this happening. And so we gathered them and we found more than 70 actually, and then wanted to structure them and consolidate them in a way that we can actually receive the relevant information from them. And we consolidated those 70 into the 12 most relevant ones. But what does relevant mean for us? So relevant is defined for us as the most impactful, but at the same time, the most uncertain drivers, because those are the ones that are really going to be decisive for the future. So what we did is we involved ourselves in hour-long discussions to assign and debate about the importance and also the uncertainty of each of these drivers. And what you see here is a matrix in which you can tell we assigned them into 4 quadrants that are showing where kind of they're located. And believe me, many times you will enter the discussion and you will really feel like you knew the answer of what this future of this aspect could look like. But then only in the discussion you realize how many facets this future might hold. And then in the next step, we took a look at the top right quadrant, because those are the ones, the 12 ones, that are the most important and most uncertain. And here we're talking about all types of topics. So there's topics that were just on the top of our minds these days, like pandemics, but also topics from a more political perspective, such as social inequality, social integration, or retirement age. Perspectives from a health point of view, so technology and care, non-communicable diseases, and many more, mobility and accessibility, and digital literacy. What you see highlighted in green, those are the 2 key drivers. We chose 2 drivers that we feel are complementary and addressing most aspects of life so that we can really use them in order to build 4 scenarios for our future that are covering many different aspects.
Let's have a look at the key drivers that Antonia just mentioned to really understand them and what they mean to the elderly. The first one is the financial situation. As a class, we all agree that the financial situation is really important and is going to impact the life of the elderly in the next 20 years. However, we were highly uncertain whether the financial situation is going to be good or bad in the next 20 years. That's why we believe that both outcomes, the extreme outcomes, they are both plausible and possible. One is where the elderly live in the old age poverty. They can't even access and afford to cover their basic needs, like housing, transportation, food. However, there is the other financial situation, the other outcome, where they live really good, they can afford, of course, their basic needs, but also leisure activities and to enjoy life and to really integrate and be part of the society. And in this way, they can also afford buying new technologies and use them, which sends us to the next driver. This driver is the intention to use technology. Again, we all agree that it's going to have an impact because the more the elderly use technology, the more independent they are. However, there are two outcomes. One, when the elderly, they don't really use technology, they are a little bit skeptical, even scared and unwilling to learn it. That's why they use what they already have now, maybe some simple smartphones. However, the other outcome is when the elderly are really willing to learn and they use smart houses, wearables, and even the new emerging technologies that we haven't seen yet. These key drivers bring us to our scenario matrix. We identified 4 scenarios that are going to be possible and plausible 20 years from now, in the year 2040. The first scenario, there is high intention to use technology by the elderly. However, the financial situation is bad and doesn't allow them to use the technology. This is the underprivileged geeks. The next scenario is a really optimistic one. Why so? Because there is high intention to use technology as well. The elderly, they have good financial situation. They can afford buying everything they want, almost everything. The other scenario is prosperous nostalgics. Here, the elderly have good financial situation, however, they prefer to use the technology they already have now and not to learn about the new emerging technologies. And the last but not least is the falling behind scenario, the most pessimistic one, where the elderly, they neither have good financial situation and they also have low intention to use technology, which makes their life really difficult.
All right, now let's take a look what life in 2040 could be like, especially for the underprivileged geeks.
My name is Karen. I'm 60 years old, I live on the outskirts of Cologne, and I work as a granny nanny for the 85-year-old Charlotte, who lives at the other end of the city, far, far away from where I live. I'm no stranger to this place. I went to school here. I got married here. My husband was a fine man. We didn't have much, but we were happy with what we had. Until one fateful day, when my husband met with a terrible accident, succumbed to his injuries, and died, leaving me alone and poverty-stricken. Well, I'm not all alone. I have my daughter Sarah and my smart home assistant Ali to take care of me. Ali wakes me up, maintains the grocery list for me, reminds me to go for my doctor's appointments. It's a pity, though, that Ali can't speak in German. I mean, all this talk about NLP on the internet, and home assistants can only speak in English and Chinese? But maybe it's my fault. I bought a cheap home assistant from the floor market last year. The good part is that I have my doctor's appointment today. I'm always happy to visit the doctor. I get to travel by the autonomous bus, which is a technological wonder in itself. And if that wasn't enough, all the clerical work in the clinics is managed by robots these days. I get so fascinated by those things. They even carry the patients around on stretchers these days. I love technology, but sometimes even I can't keep up with its pace. When I met my doctor last month, he told me that I could get an artificial pancreas that could completely fix my diabetes. I was on cloud 9, till I realized that my health insurance wouldn't pay for the surgery. Now I don't have the money to pay for such an expensive treatment. My pension hasn't even increased this year. And working as Charlotte's part-time caretaker barely helps me cover my monthly expenses. Sometimes I wonder how long I can keep going this way. After all, even I'm getting old. Well, there's no point overthinking. Ali just announced that it's time to leave for the bus stop. So I must take your leave now. Goodbye.
All right, Kay, so what do you think of Grandma Karen's day?
Firstly, I must say that I really love Strajit as a grandma. Good work there. But it really made me sad the fact that even though the elderly really want to learn the new technology and really want to use it, they can't afford it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Especially, it's great to see what's happening in the healthcare sector, but that makes it even more frustrating to see that the elderly actually cannot take part in it as much as they should. But maybe we should take a look at a world where there's still high attention to use technology, but also good financial situation.
Yeah, let's have a look.
October 7th, 2040, Susan's digital diary entry. My husband and I had quite a day yesterday, and I would like to tell you all about it. Michael was leaving the elementary school that he volunteers at. He got hungry and notified Anna, our virtual assistant, to warm up his lunch before he arrived. We have lived in our smart home since 2030. This was a very important year for us because the government supported our transition into a smart home, passed the law of basic income, and provided us with free technology courses where we learn how to use new devices in our day-to-day lives. Anyways, once Michael got home and was excited to have his lunch, he accidentally tripped and fell. As he was on the floor, Anna supported him emotionally. She called an air ambulance, sent his patient records over to the doctor, and even injected him with some painkillers. She also notified me about the accident and assured me that Michael was doing okay. So I just rushed to this hospital with an autonomous bus. When we arrived, Michael was checked in by Tommy, a robot nurse, who checked his vitals and made us feel comfortable while waiting. The doctor walked in with her AR glasses, took a very quick look at Michael's leg, and diagnosed him within seconds. As Michael's hips was injured, the robo-nurse equipped him with an exoskeleton. At the end, Michael and I took a long walk home as he couldn't even feel the pain of the injury with this exoskeleton. If 20 years ago someone told me that this is what our lives would look like in the future, I would think that they went crazy. So I'm very impressed by all the benefits of the recent technological advancements, and I'm very happy that we are able to afford these new devices to live comfortably without burdening our daughter. Oh, I need to rush back to my hologram lecture now. 2-minute virtual breaks are simply not enough for anything. Thank you for listening.
All right, how did you like the Silver Garden of Eden?
I loved it. I'd really love to see my grandparents and parents living in this scenario, even though I think it's more plausible for my parents to live there, and I'd love to see it happening.
I totally agree. It's very optimistic, but I'm thinking it might be a little bit too optimistic. Definitely plausible, but thinking just about my own grandparents, I'm wondering if they would actually be so willing to use technology, at least to this extent. So maybe we should take a look at the next scenario.
Hello, my name is Carl. I'm 73 and recently retired. Today, in 2040, the world is highly divided. On the one hand, we have the technologically advanced younger generation, and on the other, the more nostalgic, low-tech elderly, like myself. Let me tell you what a day in my life is like. Normally, I like to wake up early, at 6 o'clock. After this, my nurse Laura comes by to measure my vitals. Since my heart attack 3 years ago, my daughter, Fiona, won't stop nagging me about getting a robotic nurse instead. She says they're more reliable and more constant. But I just feel a lot safer knowing there's a real human measuring my vitals. Then I also like to have lunch with my daughter Fiona. We go to this wonderful Italian place, which has real human waiters and chefs. This, I think, makes the food so much better. On my way there, I like to travel by bus. I call it using my cell phone, And on the way, I like to look outside. I often see the postal drones flying in nice, neat lines. I do miss the days when it was real birds flying outside the bus. My daughter, on the other hand, she arrives by Hyperloop from London. In the evening, I like to visit a little orchestral performance together with my friends. This is a real treat because the musicians are real people with only a couple robots in the back lines. This is a small luxury I can afford due to the 2028 Pension Raising Act. After this, I go home and think about what a lovely day I've had.
So, how about this scenario? Do you think your parents would be living in this scenario? Do you find it probable?
Well, I think it's definitely plausible, especially because it feels like the most natural right now, because today seniors are still living in a somewhat good financial situation. And right now there's actually a lot of lack of digital adaptation in their case. So yeah, I think like this is actually a plausible scenario, but well, there's one more scenario left. Let's not neglect it and also take a look at falling behind.
Hi, my name's Thomas. I'm 72 years old and I live in the year 2040. Let me tell you about a day in my life. This morning I woke up at 5 o'clock because I've not been sleeping well recently. It's gotten hotter and hotter over the years, and there's 2 other people living with me in my small apartment. Together, we live on the 15th floor in building F in this large state-owned nursing home in the outskirts of Munich. There's over 100,000 people living here. At 8:30 sharp, we're scheduled for breakfast with the rest of our building. In this large, crowded canteen, with the food being the same over and over again and not very tasty, I really like to remember the good old times with my wife in our small, cozy apartment with just the 2 of us eating croissants. Unfortunately, she died a couple of years ago from COVID-35. At 10 o'clock, I have to be at work. I work as a receptionist in a local community center. I usually get there by walking because recently there have been some accidents and I don't trust those driverless buses anymore. After work on my way home at 5 o'clock, I suddenly get a notification on my phone for my medical checkup. I've ignored it the last 2 times, so I really have to go. But it's the same thing every time. They take my blood values, tell me I have to change my behavior, but I don't see the point. When I get home, I want to get my mind off things. So I call my daughter, but like last time, her avatar answers. Lately, I've got the feeling I've been talking more to that damn avatar than my actual daughter. So as I lie down in the evening and try to relax after a structured and stressful day, I sometimes wonder, do I really want the rest of my life to look like this?
So now that we've seen 4 scenarios of how the future might play out, we're getting closer to the last and maybe most exciting phase, the ideation phase. During the last 2 weeks of our course, we tried to come up with meaningful ideas that shape this future and support the elderly in facing their challenges, hopefully even in all 4 scenarios. Together with professional help from the Institute of Innovation and Change Methodology, we applied proven techniques and methodologies in order to find new business ways to create value for the elderly in the future. So we started by gathering more than 250 ideas on online canvases and then try to sort them out and find the 25 best of them through many iterations and long discussions. And finally, we, together with our project partner Ali, chose the 5 most promising ones and discovered whether or not they have some business potential. And those are namely Desired, Sleepy, Come2 Garden, S-Cubed and Fabula. And now we're really excited to share with you what the teams have come up with. You can also ask questions, and we're really encouraging you to do so through the Q&A tool that you find on our website. And now we're excited to announce Desired, talking about a rather unusual topic.
Let me introduce you to Desired. the educational platform to enjoy a fulfilled sex life all the way into old age. So what is the status quo? Right now, elderly often do not have a fulfilling sex life. While 2/3 of the elderly would actually like to be sexually active, only 40% really are. So where is this huge gap coming from? Well, first, aging comes with changes in body, in mentality, in sexuality. These changes are completely normal, but because elderly lack the knowledge, they often approach them with fear rather than curiosity. Second, aging also comes with changes in living conditions. After 20 years or even longer living with kids and going through stressful times, and suddenly you're in a situation living alone again or with your partner, it simply isn't what it used to be back in the days. And third, aging often also comes with disabilities and impairments that change the life of the elderly significantly.
But how can we adapt to these changes when getting older? That's exactly the question many elderly ask themselves and they don't find an answer to. When we in our society talk about sex and sexuality, we often associate it to youth or physical fitness. Sexuality in older ages is a taboo topic in our society, and elderly are too ashamed to talk about it. But to who are elderly then talking about sex? Well, first, there might be your partner with whom you can talk about your relationship, some parts of your sexual relationship. Then there's your doctor, whom you can always ask for medical advice. In interviews, we found that there are issues that elderly do not feel comfortable addressing at either of those parties. What happens now is that many elderly end up on the internet. And let's put it like that. The kind of advice you get there is far away from professional. What can we change about that?
Introducing Desired, the one-stop solution to deal with sexuality in a meaningful way. We help the elderly embrace the changes that they are experiencing. And the taboo is no longer a topic because we focus on the individual. That is where sexual fulfillment starts, no matter if you're in a relationship or not. And we do all of this by sending our customers on a personalized sexual journey, starting with an onboarding process to get to know them, and then building on 3 core pillars. Number 1, high-quality scientific content. Number 2, experiential content that is more about the experiences others have made. And then number 3, expert advice for the more individual questions. Altogether, leading you closer to sexual fulfillment. Now, let's take a look at the product.
A user's journey with Desired begins with an onboarding screen where the user's needs, preferences, and impairments are duly noted by the platform. Using its smart recommendation engine, Desired proposes a series of paths that the users can take along their personalized sexual journey. The platform offers learning paths to discuss the many changes that take place in our bodies as we age, and the curiosity paths allow the users to explore previously uncharted sexual territory. The guidance from the learning and curiosity paths is augmented by the expert consultation sessions that the users may request for. The users would have complete control over what personal information they would like to share with the experts, and of course, the contents of the discussion would stay between the users and the experts that we assign to them.
Alright, so how does it work? Our platform consists of 2 different components. First of all, we have the content that is accessible to our elderly. Here we have 2 different subgroups of content creators. The first subgroup are our scientific content creators. These can, for example, be doctors or sexual therapists. Bringing in their medical expertise, they help us to ensure the very high quality of our content. Additionally, we want to hire what we call experiential content creators. These can be, for example, elderlies who have experienced themselves some kind of diseases or insecurities and are now willing to share their experiences. Our second component is the advice. Here we match our elderly with experts so that they can have one-on-one consultations on topics that they are currently interested in. We think of 3 different revenue streams. Elderly can either pay per path, or if they want to use multiple paths at the same time, they can also make use of our monthly subscription fee. Additionally, we will ask for a commission fee on each individual consultation session. In the future, we also want to make use of reimbursement schemes of health insurances.
Let's talk about competition. There are quite some companies serving younger customers. In the toys and care sector, for example, there's Amorelie and Ice.de. And looking at educational offers, companies like Amaze and OMG Yes come to mind. But who is serving the elderly? Well, if you look closely, you will find some companies in the toys and care space, like Lioness, for example. But there really is a huge lack of high-quality, expert educational content and advice for elderly. And that's exactly the void we are filling with Desired. So what are our next steps? First, we focus on proof of concept and build an MVP. And then it's all about implementation. Hiring our expert product and editing team and build deep relationships with our key partners like doctors and insurances. They will also provide us with our first customers who get their first path on Desired for free to keep the entry barrier low and introduce them to our platform. We then continue to grow our customer base on larger channels like TV and newspaper advertisement and ultimately bring change to society so that elderly sexuality is no longer a taboo topic.
So if you like our product and want to support Desired, then help us connect us with experts and insurances. But most importantly, try out our product and get in touch with us. Because we want to educate and inspire everyone to have a fulfilled sex life all the way into old age.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Team Desired, for your pitch. We have already a few questions from the audience for you, Team Desired. Let's start with the first question. What do the paths, courses in the app actually contain? So we would be interested in that question, and now I would like to hand over to you, Team Desired.
Great, thank you. That's a really great question, and I think Vincent will be able to answer this. We even have a backup slide on this one.
Absolutely. So one of these paths, the type of content it contains is a mix of video content, audio content, but also text and some tasks or exercises that people can do. And regarding size, it's about a 1 to 3 week course, and it lasts for 10 to 30 minutes a day. That's roughly the size. Overall, we try to make the content light and enjoyable, but also having it scientifically correct.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot to the team. We already have more questions coming in for you. The next one, how are you going to reach your target group? What's your stake on that?
Yes, also a very good question, and I think Flo has looked into this.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We actually thought quite a bit about our go-to-market strategy, and especially in the beginning, we want to leverage the customer bases of our key partners, which are experts like doctors and therapists, and introduce their existing clients and patients to our offering, and of course, insurances. Their customers are very interested in our offering too, so we see strong opportunities there to reach our initial customer group. And more long-term vision, there is of course the opportunity to address online channels like search engine ads, advertisements, and get those people, but also especially long-term looking, we want to focus on offline channels, ambassador marketing, newspaper and TV advertisement to reach also those elderlies who are not as used to the new technologies yet and are more used to the offline channels.
Wonderful. Thank you, Team Desired. There's also another question from the audience. You mentioned partnering with insurances. What would such a partnership look like?
Yes, that's also a very interesting question. Felicitas looked into partnering with insurances. I hand over to her.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for handing over, and thanks for the question. It's also a great one. So first of all, partnerships are nice to have for desired, but not a must. But they have, for both sides, strong advantages. So for insurances, we can assure some health benefits. So in the long term, we will bring some cost reductions and also prevention. And for desired side, it will guarantee revenue streams and incentivize our customers to use the app. And how will it work, the partnership? So there we have two strategies. One is that we set up selected contracts with insurance companies. And the other one will be that we can get our application DIGA certified and get our app on this way reimbursed.
Thank you so much, Team Desired. Let's move on with the second team, Team Sleepy. Team Sleepy deals with a problem that we are actually, some of us might know. It happens in the bedroom, and the issue is called snoring. So now over to you for questions.
So snoring is not only a problem for Karl and Gisela, but actually there are about 24 million people in Germany alone who suffer from it. And snoring is something that gets much worse as we get older. So if we, for example, look at the population age 50 and over, about every second male and every third female suffers from snoring. But why is this so problematic? Well, first, snoring leads to poor sleep quality for both the snorers and their partners. And research has shown that poor sleep quality can cause numerous physical and also mental health issues, ranging from a lack of concentration during the day to more serious diseases like diabetes and dementia. And we've also seen that snoring can cause tension and conflicts in relationships. So snoring is a huge problem that most likely affects us and our loved ones sooner or later. That's why we at Sleepy want to tackle this problem and offer you the world's first anti-snoring pillow based on active noise cancelling technology.
Next, let's take a look at the components. First off, we have the actual acoustical components contained in a small box in the center. First among these is the reference microphone. This is supposed to pick up the snoring as it is heard exactly around the ears of the partner. Next, we have the speakers, which are supposed to emit the exact opposite sound to the snoring, with the idea to cancel its sound out. In the middle, we have the green logic board. This houses all the essential computational components to make the calculation of the anti-snoring possible. On the next layer, we have in yellow the cross-cut memory foam. This is a special foam which is supposed to house the computational components and also cushion them in such a way that the sleeper cannot feel them there. On the next layer in blue is the protective comfort foam. This is designed specifically to adjust to the sleeper's favorite positions. And finally, on the outermost layer in white, we have the washable hypoallergenic bamboo cover, which is supposed to be easy to clean and create a special, great experience for the user.
Snoring varies over time and differs from person to person, meaning that signal is not constant. An algorithm should adapt for those changes fast. Another aspect which is necessary to take into account is real-time output to reduce noise effectively. Therefore, the algorithm should be simple and robust. In order to do this, we use adaptive mean square algorithm, which takes as input analog signal, converts it into digital one, separates snoring from all other sounds, then adjusts parameters using a steepest adaptive approach to minimize error between primary noise and anti-noise. And finally, produce the anti-noise signal, which is played through the speakers and results in snore reduction.
This technology, paired up with a high comfort design, aims to be an essential well-being tool in every household to provide healthy and high-quality sleep. We at Sleepy strive to be considered a health prevention device to help diminish the negative effects, physical and mental, that come with sleep deprivation. Using non-intrusive technology embedded in a high-comfort orthopedic pillow, we want to improve the sleeping environment and this way also help relationships thrive. It is important to also mention that all of these benefits can also be obtained when acquired by hospitals and hotels.
In Europe alone, the market for sleep aids is estimated to be growing at a compound annual growth rate of 6.5%, and especially mattresses and pillows are expected to have a huge potential in the next coming years. Of those 24 million people snoring in Germany, we have an available market of 19 million people living in shared households, as well as 400,000 beds in shared hospital rooms. Of that available market, we again focus on those individuals and hospitals in good financial standing who could afford Sleepy and expect a market share of 3%. Regarding the revenue streams and our distribution channels, we are not only selling Sleepy through our own online shop, but also through various online distributors as well as offline retailers at a price point of 200 euros per pillow.
The next steps for us are continuing working on the research and design of the pillow, testing it with the users and validating the prototype. Simultaneously, we will start with the initial development of our app to control further functions of the pillow, including updates to the algorithm. Next year, after successful validation of our prototype, we'll launch a Kickstarter campaign to finance the first batch of the noise-cancelling pillows and ship them towards the end of the year. Additionally, we'll start establishing partnerships in a B2B market, especially hospitals. For the year 2022, we will further develop our app and introduce an additional revenue stream via subscription to detailed sleep analysis and guided meditation for falling asleep. Furthermore, we will open our own online shop and start shipping the regular batch to our customers and business partners. To succeed with this plan, we have an interdisciplinary team with a wide range of skills from tech, design, and business backgrounds. We are Team Sleepy. Better sleep, better health, better aging. And for Karl with Gisela.
Thank you so much, Team Sleepy. Your product will really help many people of us. In the meantime of your pitch, we have already received a few questions. So let's start with the first one. Is this considered a medical device?
Over to you.
Thank you. That's probably a question Anna could answer.
Thank you, Nadia, and thank you also for your questions. We would like to consider this as a medical device because it actually does help the elderly improve their life by helping the different ways. First one is through prevention, as it was already mentioned. And we know also that preventing these diseases can also, and at some point, improve their health and their lifestyles.
Perfect. Thanks to the team. Lots of questions coming in. So let's continue. Does the pillow also improve the sleep quality of the snoring person?
Thank you for that question. I would give that question to Lisa.
Thank you, Nadia. So primarily the pillow is designed for the partner to hear less since it is optimized around the space of the ears of the partner. However, it will also have a noise-reducing effect for the snorer themselves, especially if the couple chooses to buy two pillows, so one is actually canceling the sound for the snorer themselves. They will also further benefit from the noise reduction. While the pillow does not stop the snoring itself, this is a separate medical issue. It will reduce the sound, which can also improve the quality of sleep for the snorer himself.
Wonderful, thank you so much. There's also another question. Could you patent this technology?
That's probably also a question Lisa could answer.
Yes, so there has been a paper that does a proof of concept study and they have shown a smaller version of the product we want to build, and they have made a patent for this already. However, according to our research on the patent, it should be possible to further develop this algorithm in such a way that the patent will not be a problem for us. And this tweak to the algorithm will then allow us to have our own patent for this. So yes, with the adaptation on top of it.
Perfect, thank you. Next question. What are the requirements you have to fulfill to get DIGA certified?
That's another question for Lisa.
In fact, for this, I think it would be necessary to do a very in-depth dive into the exact technical components we'll be using so that we can from this justify how we can fulfill these exact requirements.
There's one more question. What is your gross margin of the 200 euros?
I would hand over that question to Anna.
Yeah, sure. So for the 200 euros that we calculated for the pillow, it was taking into consideration also competitors and then having into account how much a pillow would be to make. So the idea is that we are profitable, but we are also with a competitive price.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much to Team Sleepy. We have more questions coming in. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. So we just encourage you to make use of the networking session post the event to engage with the team. Thanks to Team Sleepy. Now, moving on, we're coming to the next team, Come to Garden. Come to Garden is aiming at making our urban spaces greener while actually empowering the elderly. Let's have a look at it.
Did you know that 42% of the elderly reported to feel lonely at least at some time? This number becomes even worse when taking into account that constant loneliness affects the overall mobility of people like 15 cigarettes a day. Secondly, we found out that every sixth sick day taken by an employee is due to mental health reasons. This translates to an economic loss of 85 billion euros per year. Coming across these shocking numbers, we ask ourselves, how can we tackle these two cross-generational problems at the same time? That's when we came up with Come to Garden, a community and company gardening project. At Come to Garden, our mission is to integrate the elderly into society and improve the productivity of employees by turning unused company premises into elderly-led community gardens.
But how do we turn this mission statement into action? Our answer to this is simple. We create offline experiences with a digital backbone. We add value to the companies that lack recreational areas by setting up more green spaces. Our partner companies can choose between outdoor and indoor products. If the company has sufficient outdoor spaces, such as rooftops or courtyards, we offer full gardening packages, which even includes a greenhouse. If the company doesn't have sufficient outdoor spaces, we can offer customizable indoor products. Come to Garden services consist of three components. First, we provide cost-efficient and fast setup of the entire gardening space. Once the green spaces are installed, we provide maintenance for the spaces with our main workforce, the elderly. Lastly, we focus on community engagement through our digital platform.
But now, let me show you what we mean by empowering the community. For this, we've built the first working prototype of Come to Garden's community engagement platform, the digital backbone of our offline services.
On the landing page of Come to Garden, the user finds recent updates related to our project and can search for participating companies nearby, filtered by postal code. Let's assume the user is an active gardener at Come to Garden already, wherefore she directly proceeds to the login. She then selects the section for gardeners and enters her credentials. From there, she's automatically directed to her personal dashboard. In this case, we are looking at the workspace of Stephanie, an experienced gardener living in Munich city center. She's currently taking care of Personio's green spaces.
As they have a 200 square meter rooftop terrace, there's plenty of work to be done each day. That's why she's supported by Max, Karl, Peter, and Rita, who make up a strong team. As it's 9:30 already, Stephanie quickly needs to find out which other tasks she's in charge of for the rest of the day, wherefore she switches to the calendar view. After she watered the plants in the morning, she will meet up with Karl shortly to repair broken plant boxes. How exciting! But now it's time to log out and get straight back to work.
Come to Garden provides unique benefits for both the companies and the elderly. By creating more green spaces, companies increase the concentration and productivity of their employees by 20%. Exposure to nature decreases employee stress, which increases their job satisfaction and employer branding. Lastly, by having green and sustainable offices, while also helping out the elderly, companies can expect improved public reputation. On the other hand, elderly benefit from the increased sense of purpose that they often crave. They also get socially integrated into the gardening community, which leaves little room for elderly loneliness. Furthermore, Come to Garden provides them with financial stability. And lastly, being exposed to nature, staying physically active, and getting socially integrated into the community improves mental and physical health of the elderly by 20%.
So now let's take a look at what customer segments we, as Come to Garden, are tackling. First of all, large public and private enterprises, which care about their employees' mental health and have the necessary resources and space to set up the gardens that Come to Garden offers. But how are we reaching them? One of the main channels could be to contact the HR departments, as they are in charge of employee satisfaction and well-being. Second of all, we have curious and active elderly, who are eager to make local connections within their neighborhood and support their independent living by earning an extra income. We are reaching the elderly by organizing local events within their communities and also through other traditional media such as gardening magazines. When it comes to pricing, we calculate depending on the desired surface that you want to get planted. But now let's look at a real use case. Personia wants to set up a rooftop garden at their central office in Munich. They have 200 square meters of available space, and we recommend them to go with a premium subscription as they want to enjoy the garden all year round. Their installation fee comes at a price of 44,000 euros, and the monthly cost of the community and the elderly taking care of it would come at a cost of 4,000 euros.
We enter a highly attractive market. With over 11,000 big companies in Germany, we expect a total market volume of over 1.7 billion euros. Since we focus first on big cities in Germany, our serviceable market is about 122 million euros. By 2023, we expect a success rate of 5% and think we get 6.1 million euros. What is our way for this? So we start already today with prototyping, and by 2021, we would like to launch our product in Munich. In the next year, we bring it to other million big cities in Germany. And by 2023, we scale it to other big cities in whole Germany. We are Keke, Manuel, myself, Philip, and Johnny. Together we are Come to Garden. We green your spaces. Thank you, and we are looking forward to meeting you in our virtual gardening space.
Thank you very much, Come to Garden, for this great idea and the great pitch. We already have a couple of questions coming in here for you, so let's get straight into it. First question for your team. Why would companies spend money on Come to Garden gardening service to green their spaces?
All right, hello everyone. We are happy to clarify for that question. I would hand over for Johnny.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. So it's a very interesting question. We really think that companies have a lot of benefits from adapting our product. So our vision is that please imagine you have a green top at your company, and you can go there, you can have a break, you can garden a little bit, during your lunch break. And this, of course, can reduce mental pressures and give you a little more resilience in your workday. And on the external perspective, of course, companies can benefit from positive reputation and can increase their image as a social and environmental responsible company.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. There's another question from the audience. How is Come2Garden making money?
All right, for this we have our business expert with us. I'll hand over to Manuel.
So yeah, that's a very good question and obviously pretty crucial. So Come2Garden is, as you saw in the presentation, we are making money by having a small percentage of the installation fee and also from the monthly fee that we're charging the customers for taking care of the garden, especially the elderly. And we are trying to take a percentage of it, but also ensuring that elderly have a nice and sustainable wage.
Thank you, Come2Garden. Next question for you. How many elderly people have you already found who are willing to do this?
For this, I would like to hand over to our marketing expert, Philip Bogish.
Yes, so we conducted some interviews with elderly that are related to us, so our grandparents or friends of our grandparents that have some experience in gardening. And then they were really keen to try out the project, especially because they like community. And that's what we can offer to them. And that's where we add value for them. So we had conducted some interviews. Some said they would be willing to do it. But of course, we would have to expand those questionnaires among a larger customer base to get a better feedback for that.
Wonderful, thank you. There's one more question from the audience, which is, what is required to qualify as an expert gardener and teach as part of your offering?
All right, for this question, I would like to pass it on to Keke.
Thank you for the question. So to qualify as an expert in gardening, you obviously have to have some experience in gardening. For example, like know what to plant in what season, like what kind of temperature is required for this or that plant, when to water. So just having the basic knowledge and some experience, we would say maybe like 2-year experience in gardening would qualify you as a gardening expert to teach our elderly.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Let's move on with team number 4 called S-Cube with the project title S-Cube. S-Cube is helping aging people and elderly people to maintain and to improve their gait. So that's going to be interesting. Over to you.
Welcome to the presentation of S-Cube, the Smart Soul Solution. On this chart, you can see how physical ability develops over time. You can see that somewhere between the age of 20 to 30, the physical ability peaks. And then afterwards, it slightly decreases. For individuals, it's not unusual to experience a drastic drop somewhere between the age of 60 to 70. And the reason, therefore, usually is an operation. It can be a hip operation, or it can be a knee operation, or any other operation that drastically affects the person's gait. And after this operation, the mobility is drastically limited. After the operation, it is important that the recovery goes as smooth as possible, because various scenarios are possible. In the best case scenario, the patient recovers almost to the level of physical ability that they had right before the operation. In the worst case scenario, however, the physical ability of the person remains as low as it was immediately before the operation. And this is so important because of 3 perspectives. Number 1, for the elderly patient himself, it is important to remain living independent. For the insurance, it's important to achieve savings, because if the recovery doesn't go smooth, it's very, very expensive. And third, for the doctor or physiotherapist, it's important to limit their effort that they have per patient.
Before tackling the problem, we had a look at the most significant pain points. First,
Have you ever tried to get an appointment with a specialized doctor? Having a waiting time of about 3 months is not a rarity, and the same goes for physiotherapists. Second, the motivation for the homework exercises are often limited. Imagine you have to do these exercises not only together with your physiotherapist, but also at home. Might cause pain, so being not as motivated as you should be is common. And many people, for example, only do their exercises right the day before they have their next appointment with their physiotherapist. Third, the homework exercises are often complex and thereby prone to errors. Furthermore, there's not only one exercise, but several ones, so you might even forget some of them. Addressing these issues, we came up with a solution which takes traditional physiotherapy on the one hand and supplements it, 1, by a data-driven therapy approach, 2, a communication and training platform supporting you at home, and 3rd, a personalized home training. We put this into reality by taking a hardware component, our smart insole, together with the communication and training platform on the software side.
Now let's take a look into our customer journey. Our customer journey starts after hip surgery. Usually, hip surgeries are causing gait anomalies, which need to be recovered with physiotherapy. S-Cube is supporting the elderly during their journey at the physiotherapist, but as well as at home during rehabilitation. Now let's look how the physiotherapist is using S-Cube. First of all, they use the insole to make a gait analysis. Second, they can use the tools like the gait anomaly video analysis to nicely illustrate the micromovements which are causing the gait anomaly. Third, they can assign individual exercises to the elderly. And fourth, they can make use of the very nice recovery overview where they can observe how much the elderly are exercising at home and also see how the gait is improving. Now let's take a look how the elderly are using S-Cube. First of all, by using S-Cube on a daily basis helps to see the changes in gait and compare them from day to day and also week to week. Second, the very nice recovery overview is really showing and pointing out the improvements in gait and the physical abilities which have been regained. Third, the elderly have the home workout assistant, which are monitoring them while exercising at home. Smart algorithms are combining the data of the insole together with the video tracking and calling out for correction if necessary. Fourth, we have the exercise reminder, which is trying to motivate the elderly to exercise on a daily basis, which is very crucial since daily exercising is very important for fast and full recovery.
Now, let's have a glance below the surface and talk about technical details and also IT infrastructure. Regarding the smart sole, we have 3 main components. The first one is the sensing, the charging, and the last one is the controlling. Regarding sensing, we have 2 sensors. First, we have a pressure sensor, which allows us to measure the foot pressure for the feet. The second one is the accelerator, which allows us to measure acceleration into all 3 axes. This allows us to also have a gait reconstruction and analysis. Then for the charging, we're going to use inductive charging, because we want to have it as easy as possible for the elderly. This means that they can put the sole on a platform overnight, charge it, and then use it the next day. For the controlling unit, we use a microcontroller. It gathers the data, processes it, and then sends to the cell phone. For the IT infrastructure, on the below, we have the foot sole. It gathers data, processes it, and then sends it via Bluetooth Low Energy to the cell phone. In the cell phone, we have data visualization and also some data processing. The cell phone sends the data then to the cloud, where our top AI processes data even further, does some pattern recognition, and sends it back to the cell phone.
Why S-Cube? It saves time and money for the patient and for the insurance company. It increases the motivation of the patient to work out regularly, and it also reduces errors while exercising. This leads to huge savings potentials. According to the physiotherapists we talked to, the recovery time is reduced by 70% if the patient exercises regularly and in the correct way after an operation. In Germany, per year, there are 400,000 patients who go through knee and hip surgery, age 60+. With our solution, we can save up to 40 million euros to the insurance company. Firstly, we plan to obtain 10% of this market, and in later stages,
15 to 20%. We are Smart Soul Solution Team, and we believe we have the right expertise to tackle this challenge. Join our virtual booth. We welcome your questions.
Thanks so much to Team S-Cube for your pitch. We already have a few questions from the audience. Actually, more and more are coming in. Let's start with the first one. What kind of technical components does your Smart Soul have? Over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for tuning in for the whole presentation and for this first question. Vince, I guess this is yours.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to answer that. I actually prepared some backup slide for that, where you see the explosive view of the technical parts. So first of all, we have a microcontroller, which is working on low energy Bluetooth. Then we also have different force resistive sensors, which are interconnected with the microcontroller and giving feedback regarding the pressure. Then for the acceleration measurement, we use an EMU, initial measurement unit. And regarding the charging, we're going to use an inductive charging device, a coil, which lets the elderly to use their tool overnight.
Perfect. Thanks to the team. Let's move on to the next question. Can the soul be dangerous? For example, the microprocessor is overheating.
Thanks for the question. Thanks, Philip. Vince, I think you want to add on to this right away.
Yeah, that's a very good question again. Obviously, we will try our soul on different pressures and constant movement to really kind of figure out that we are a safe product. Again, our product will be classified as a medical product. This means that also there will be trials with the product to figure out if it's really safe for the user. We added some kind of fire pads and pressure pads additionally to the sensors so that everything is very safe and clean.
Wonderful, thank you. A new question. What makes your soul better than those of the competitors that already exist?
Hey, do you want to go into this?
Yes, sure. Thank you for the question. Let's have a look at the slide of the competitor analysis. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Vince. See that, of course, there exist competitors out there like NovaPace, Footlogger, Moticon, and others. However, we differentiate in different aspects. For example, some of these companies focus only in fitness or in Parkinson's disease correction. However, we are focusing in post-operation rehabilitation. Another differentiation aspect is the fact that we have the insole and also a web platform. However, some of these companies have either one or the other. At the same time, we provide real-time feedback like through our AI, and also we give exercise reminders in order for the patients to recover and to regularly exercise. And most important aspect that differentiates us from the others is the fact that we build this communication and we improve the communication between the physiotherapist and the patient. So far, the solution that exists, you can take them at home and exercise by yourself at home, but we really want to focus to improve this communication and the relationship between the physiotherapist and our patient. Thank you.
Okay, coming to the last question for your team. If the insurance savings are 40 million euros, does this mean your total market size is only 20 million?
Hey, I think that's also one for you.
Yes, we can have a look at the slides at the market size. Yes, that's true. The truth is that the patient who have these surgeries, the knee and hip surgeries, are only 500 in 100,000 people in Germany. So there is not a huge market. However, that's why we believe that we cannot target only the 6% that usually companies target in the beginning. We believe that we can target 10 to 20% of this market, and thus we serve a bigger market.
Perfect. Thank you very much to the team. We're now moving on to our last presentation for today. The next team, Fabula, wants to help every one of us, not only the elderly, by connecting the elderly stories of our grandparents and of our parents to our relatives and ourselves. Over to the team.
Good evening, everyone. Who of you actually knows where your grandparents met and what their childhood was like growing up? Most of the stories we are told about our families quickly get lost over the generations. We are Tiger, Jan, Henrik, Antonia and Dominic, and we would like to introduce you to Fabula. Fabula is revolutionizing the way stories are being shared and left behind for the next generations to come. During the development, we found two facts that were really striking to us. On the one hand, more than 80% of people feel like they have a book inside them and want to tell their stories. In the UK, being an author was even ranked among the most desired jobs. On the other hand, many seniors feel lonely and unheard, while their descendants are mostly concerned about their memories in hindsight, when it is already too late.
This is where Fabula comes in, empowering seniors to tell about their life through a guided storytelling process. At first, an animated moderator, called Fabula, helps the user to tell a compelling personal story. She poses questions that build upon each other to guide the user through his or her memory. The recorded memory is then transcribed into text, which can be illustrated and edited, and finally be shared with your loved ones online, or even be printed as an autobiography. And thereby, Fabula brings great value to the seniors, helping them to remember experiences from long ago, tell their life stories bit by bit, receive a tangible end product to pass on, and last but not least, answer questions that relatives or friends have submitted, for example, about shared memories. Now, let's see what the user experience is like. As a user, I start off on our landing page with a quick intro into the platform. An overview of the process helps me to understand the product. And when I scroll down, I can get to know Fabula, who really makes the tool unique. I get inspired by what others created, and I'm ready to start my own story. After logging in securely, I can choose either a topic I'd like to speak about and a specific memory I'd like to look back on, or one of the submitted questions by my loved ones. Today, I'm thinking about my marriage and would love to talk about the first date with my husband. Fabula starts speaking to me and asks me what it was like. When I tell her the story, she listens. Once I stop the session, an advanced NLP algorithm transcribed a grammatically correct text. In the editing mode, I can improve my text through smart suggestions and then save it to all of my memories. Now, both the text and the audio are part of my selection, and I can securely share my memory via email or link.
Let me just quickly walk you through our market sizing and through our business model. With our product, we're targeting seniors over the age of 60. In Germany alone, 28.5 million people are in this age bracket. Quite surprisingly, around 50% of them use the internet very frequently, and only a small minority is too impaired to use our product. As we've heard before, around 80% of people are interested in writing a book. This leaves us with 10.8 million seniors in Germany that are online, non-impaired, and willing to share their memories and experiences. Now, let's look at the implications for our business model. Within the next 3 years, we want to capture around 1% of this customer segment. For this, we want to use a freemium model with 3 free stories to get our customers excited and gather as much feedback as possible. For unlimited story recording, however, you need to purchase a Fabula subscription. With a fee of $9.95 per month, our pricing is rather competitive, benchmarked against other players in their legacy space. While we think that Fabula users will use our service for multiple years, for our calculations we used a rather conservative average usage time of around 7 months. As a result, we forecast our revenues to be 7 million euros by the year 2023.
Now, how do we reach this target group? Fabula uses a multi-channel marketing strategy with a focus on offline marketing. In the beginning, we will focus on building strong trust with our customers. We enter partnerships with establishments that are home to elderly communities. Those range from nursing homes to local networks such as reading clubs or sports groups to initiatives like the German Seelsorge. Next, we focus on offline marketing and advertise in media that the elderly use most frequently, such as local newspapers, radio, and billboards. For our online channels, we have to remember, over half of the people aged 65 and over use the internet regularly. We are therefore able to effectively place highly targeted ads on Facebook and senior forums. By creating content revolving around the topic of legacy and storytelling, we also perform search engine optimization
and create a follower base that we can convert to customers. And lastly, we target our ads towards relatives who want to give a gift to the seniors and hear their stories.
We envision that in 2025, we will be the leading legacy tech provider in the DACH region. Our user will have told over 1 million stories on our platform and published over 25,000 biographies, which is equivalent to 10 million minutes of stories told. To achieve this grand vision, we'll follow a 3-step roadmap. In the first stage, we seek to validate our product through building 2 MVPs. At first, with a concierge MVP targeting the lead users, which replaces some of the more advanced features with managed services. We also built an MVP using the Google NLP API to test the feasibility of the early stage product. In the second stage, we work closely together with the leading NLP providers to integrate some of the most advanced technologies into our product to enhance the service quality and the level of automation. At the same time, we'll build up different distribution channels. By the beginning of 2022, we hope to find product market fit and see significant traction. We'll then enter into the expansion phase where we devote most of our resources into marketing to quickly scale. By 2025, we'll become the market leader in the German-speaking region and also start developing the English version of the software to enter into other parts of the world.
We want to empower the elderly to tell their stories and hope you will consider Fabula as a present for your grandparents in the future. Thank you all for your attention, and we would now love to hear your questions and meet you all in the networking session.
Okay, thank you very much to our last team, Team Fabula. We already have questions for you, so let's get straight into it. First question, can Fabula be integrated into Facebook, Instagram or other social apps?
So I will direct this to our product expert, Antonia.
Right, thanks, Tiger. Well, you've already seen the product a little bit, and so far we've decided to keep it a little bit more simple. I think this is definitely an option that we want to explore along the road, but for now we felt that here it's really just about empowering them to tell their stories. And in social media, there's many constraints. Also when it comes to data security and then also how they're handling it, it's not such an easy interface. So for now, we really wanted to make it about this connection and about really like telling their stories, but it's definitely something that we'd like to explore.
Thank you, Team Fabula. There's also one other question from the audience. How do you deal with data security?
I will direct this question to our Chief Technology Officer, Dominic.
Perfect. Thanks for the question. So that's actually a really important point, since data privacy and security is one of our core values. And we definitely highly value the data of our users. So in order to fulfill this need, we definitely make sure to encrypt all the data and to treat it securely. And that's why we also don't want to interface it with many other public services, such as Facebook, for example. So we make sure that all of our users' data will be stored securely on our servers.
Okay, thank you. Coming to the next question from the audience. Why do you not turn the elderly into real authors and allow the public to access the stories if they consent to it?
So again, Antonia, I think you'll be suitable for answering this question.
Yes, very happy to. I think this also actually connects quite well with the other two. So this is also something that we've discussed quite a lot. So like, how do people actually end up sharing it? Is it more a social media platform? Is it that we're going to be like a publishing firm? And we also see this opportunity. So for now, as also mentioned with the other platforms, we've decided that it's more about keeping it for yourself and then sharing it by email very securely. But for example, if you actually end up wanting to print your stories, we're happy to also share them on our platform so that you can inspire others and share what you've lived through.
Thank you so much. There's one more question. What kind of current technology would you use for Fabula?
So I would direct this question to Dominic.
Perfect, thanks. That's an excellent question, since Fabula combines two major technological innovations. So on the one hand, we can leverage Google's speech-to-text conversion, for example, which includes live speech detection, predefined classes, and automatic grammatical placements. And on the other hand, we can make use of Google's natural language processing API for text analysis. So once the speech has been converted to text, we can choose between several add-ons such as entity analysis, semantic and syntax analysis, as well as context classification.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Team Fabula. We have more questions coming in. Unfortunately, we need to cut the Q&A off here, but we encourage every one of you to actually meet the team later in the networking session. Now, moving on. Coming to an end of our final Trend Seminar presentation, we wanted to share with you today a glimpse of what the future of the elderly can look like. Today, you've learned, hopefully, about the trends and drivers shaping our industry and an interesting target group, the elderly, in the next 5 years to come. We've had 4 time travelers from the year 2040, and last but not least, we've heard 5 interesting business ideas tackling various different problems the elderly are already facing nowadays. We encourage you to actually look into this interesting industry. And all our students are very excited to actually and look forward to your questions if you may have any. Now, the Trend Seminar today has been, it's a 7 weeks program. And if you are interested to learn more about the future, we invite you to actually have a look at our final trend report. Every semester we're conducting one Trend Seminar study about various different industries, and the results will be published in a book like this. We are every semester looking into a different industry, ranging from construction to parenting to AgeTech. Yeah? And if you're interested to find out more about the trends and drivers that are shaping our overall environment, have a look at our online bookstore where you find all our trend reports of the past years, and also soon our trend report about the future of independent living of the elderly.
Now is really the moment to say thank you to our excellent project partner. Really thank you to Ellie, because even in the onboarding phase, the cooperation has been excellent. And now during the 7-week Trend Seminar, we really enjoyed working together. You were there for coachings, for individual coachings with these students, and also for any other question that came up. And you even came for an expert lecture in the field of nutrition. So thank you so much. And now I would like to hand over to you, Manuel Mantler and Dr. Anne Latz. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and we are really happy, and it's a great pleasure for us to be with you and to have the chance to work with you, as we named all of you the brilliant smarties of this Trend Seminar. And yeah, just to give you a very, very brief overview of what we are doing. We're a team of 35 people right now. We've celebrated our Ellie Turn 1, our anniversary, just a couple of days ago, and we already launched our app and platform. We are working intensively on getting a certification as a DIGA, as we mentioned before. And yeah, and right now we are in a, let's say, more or less market phase and seed phase, and looking intensely for becoming mature to then step into the market with a DIGA. And more details, I hand over to Anne,
Yes.
our Chief Medical Officer.
Thank you. Yeah, also from my side, from the whole team, thank you very, very much for this really great, first of all, presentation today. We really want to keep it short. I just want to give you a short insight in our motivation to start really working with the CDTM. Manuel and I had been in touch with the CDTM beforehand. We knew about this very innovative spirit, which we all have seen and heard of today, and we have seen in the last weeks. And in our daily life, we are very much working in the field of social determinants of health, very much concerned about a fulfilled and happy and healthy aging, and all this very pioneering spirit which we live here in our company, and also and every day, and some people might call it idealistic. This is something we really wanted to use in this seminar and looking into the future. And we so much enjoyed, even mostly remote settings, working with the whole group. Throughout the whole scenario phase, we were all, I can only tell you from the whole team, very impressed how professional, how creative, and how very innovative really the ideas were all the time. And also was really hard for us to look at 5 ideas only from the 25. So it was not an easy decision. I think, it was a good decision as what we have seen today. And we are very much looking forward to networking with you later, looking forward to questions and the whole next steps, which we definitely see in the projects presented today. And finally, a big thank you not only to the whole groups and this great student group, but also to Philip and Anna-Sophie, which have been very challenged by the whole remote setting. And we can only say it was a really great success from our side. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the final minutes of this presentation. I hope you're all inspired now in the audience to somehow be involved in the CDTM. So you can be involved with the CDTM either as a student or as a company. And if you want to be involved as a student with the CDTM, then make sure to apply for our Spring 2021 class until November 30th. So that's your final date for your application to be involved as a student. But then also everyone in the audience who wants to be involved with the CDTM as a company, then reach out to us via the email info@cdtm.de. So thank you so much.
As mentioned in the beginning, CDTM is really meant to be a platform, bringing together everyone who's interested in innovation. So we invite you to reach out to us if you do see any potential touch points or have interest in a joint project together. From our side, once again, a warm thank you to Ellie, to our expert lecturers, but also to all students who have been committed throughout these past 7 weeks and made all of this possible. Having said that, we also briefly want to thank everyone here with us in our streaming studio here at the virtual CDTM. You can't see that right now, but we have, I think, 5 cameras looking at us and various different lights. This has all been set up by students of the center, so thank you very much to everyone involved in here as well. We hope you've learned something about AgeTech. We're very looking forward to Ellie's, but also everyone else's innovations in the field of healthy aging, a topic of relevance to all of us. And now we invite you to our networking session where you can engage with every team, get to know the product, get to know the team, and discuss potential touch points from here onwards. On our behalf, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We wish you a lovely evening and hope to see you soon.